There's a strange kind of loneliness that only the strong people understand. It's the loneliness of being the one everyone leans on, but having no one to lean on yourself. This is the story of someone who was never allowed to break.
Ayesha Rahman was known for one thing: strength. Not the loud kind, not the aggressive kind, but the silent, dependable, always there kind. She grew up in a small town where expectations were heavier than dreams. Her father was a school teacher, her mother ran the house with quiet discipline, and from the age of 12, Ayesha understood something most children never should. If she didn't stay strong, everything would fall apart. When her father lost his job during an economic crisis, the house didn't collapse, because Ayesha didn't let it. While her younger brother cried in confusion and her mother silently panicked at night, Ayesha became the emotional pillar. She told her brother, "It's okay, Baba will find another job." She told her mother, "We'll manage, we always do." She told herself, "Don't cry, you don't have time for that." And so she didn't. Years passed. Her father eventually found work again, but something inside Ayesha had changed permanently. She had trained herself not to feel too much. In school, when other girls cried over heartbreaks, Ayesha listened calmly. When her best friend Maya broke down after failing an exam, Ayesha stayed up all night helping her study. When relatives argued during family gatherings, Ayesha mediated like a seasoned diplomat. Everyone admired her maturity. "You're so strong," they would say. "You never get emotional. You handle everything so well." And every compliment felt like a chain tightening around her chest, because the truth was, she did get emotional. She just didn't show it. She didn't know how anymore. By the time she entered university, Ayesha had built a reputation. Professors trusted her with leadership roles. Friends called her at 2 a.m. for advice. Her family relied on her decisions. But nobody ever asked her one simple question: "Are you okay?" Not because they didn't care, but because they assumed she was. Strong people don't need help, right? Wrong. There were nights when Ayesha would sit alone on the rooftop of her hostel. The city lights flickered below, the wind brushed her hair, and for a few seconds she would feel something rising inside her. A heaviness, a quiet scream. But she swallowed it every time, because strong people don't fall apart. They hold everyone else together.
In her final year, Ayesha met Arman. He wasn't loud or flashy, he wasn't overly confident, but he was observant. He noticed things others didn't. The way Ayesha always said, "I'm fine," a little too quickly. The way she smiled even when her eyes looked tired. The way she avoided talking about herself. One evening, while they were studying at a cafe, Armand looked at her and said softly, "You don't always have to be strong, you know." Ayesha laughed. "What do you mean? I'm not pretending." Armand didn't argue. He just replied, "I didn't say you were pretending. I said you don't have to carry everything alone." That sentence stayed with her long after the coffee grew cold. Life doesn't test you when you're ready. It tests you when you're already tired. During her final semester, 3 things happened at once. Her father fell ill. Her thesis supervisor became impossible to please, and her younger brother got into serious financial trouble. Suddenly, everyone turned to her again. "Ayesha, what should we do? Ayesha, can you talk to him? Ayesha, handle this." And she did. Of course she did. She arranged hospital appointments. She negotiated deadlines. She borrowed money quietly from her savings. She functioned like a machine, efficient, controlled, unbreakable, until one night, her body decided it had had enough. It wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no shattered glass, no public breakdown. It happened in her room, alone. She was sitting at her desk, staring at her laptop, trying to finalize her thesis. The words blurred. Her chest tightened. Her breathing became shallow. Her hands started trembling. For the first time in years, she couldn't control it. Tears rolled silently at first, then uncontrollably. Not because of one problem, but because of all of them. All the swallowed tears, all the unspoken fears, all the "I'm fine" lies. They came crashing out at once. She slid to the floor and cried like she hadn't cried since she was 12. And in that moment, she felt something terrifying. Not weakness, relief.
The next day, her eyes were swollen. She tried to hide it, but Armin noticed. This time, instead of asking, he simply sat beside her. Silence. No advice, no fixing, no "be positive," just presence. And something inside Aisha broke open. She told him everything. How tired she was, how scared she felt, how angry she sometimes felt at always being the responsible one. She expected judgment. She expected disappointment. Instead, Armin said, "You were never strong because you didn't feel pain. You were strong because you survived it. But surviving doesn't mean you have to do it alone." That was the moment she realized something powerful. Being strong doesn't mean never breaking. It means allowing yourself to break safely.
Aisha didn't transform overnight. She didn't suddenly become vulnerable with everyone. But she started small. When her mother called with a problem, instead of saying, "Don't worry, I'll fix it," she said, "I'm also overwhelmed, Ma. Let's figure it out together." When her brother apologized for his mistakes, instead of acting composed, she admitted, "I'm scared too." When a friend asked, "Are you okay?" for the first time in her life, she answered honestly, "Not completely, but I'm trying." And something unexpected happened. People didn't see her as weaker. They felt closer to her. Because strength without vulnerability creates distance, but strength with honesty creates connection. Here's the truth no one talks about. The hidden cost of always being strong is isolation. It's the quiet exhaustion of being everyone's safe place but having none of your own. It's the pressure of being the mature one. It's the fear that if you show cracks, the entire image will shatter. But here's the deeper truth. You are not responsible for holding up the world. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to cry. You are allowed to say, "I can't handle this alone." Because strength isn't the absence of weakness, it's the courage to face it. Years later, Aisha became a counselor. People came to her with their broken stories, and when someone would say, "I just have to be strong," she would smile gently and reply, "Strong doesn't mean silent. Strong doesn't mean alone. Strong means human." And sometimes, after a long day of listening to others, she would go home, and if she felt tired, she would let herself cry. Not because she was weak, but because she finally understood. The strongest thing you can do is stop pretending you're unbreakable. Healing doesn't erase old patterns. It only makes you aware of them. Even after that night of collapse, even after opening up to Arman, even after allowing herself to cry, Aisha still felt the pull of her old identity, the strong one. It was comfortable in a strange way, predictable, safe. When her father's health fluctuated again months later, she felt that familiar instinct rising in her chest. Fix it, control it, carry it. But this time, she paused. She noticed the tightness in her shoulders, the way her jaw clenched, the silent promise she was about to make to herself, "I'll handle everything." And instead of following it blindly, she whispered something new. I'll help, but I won't disappear. It was a small shift, but small shifts change entire destinies. One of the hidden costs of always being strong is the fear of being seen as unreliable. Aisha struggled with this deeply. What if people thought she was selfish? What if her family felt abandoned? What if her friends stopped depending on her? Her identity had been built on being dependable. If she removed that, who was she? One evening, she asked Arman that exact question. If I'm not the strong one, then what am I? Arman smiled softly. You're Aisha. That was always enough. She realized something uncomfortable. She had confused usefulness with worth. As long as she was solving problems, she felt valuable. But what about when she wasn't fixing anything? Was she still deserving of love? The answer scared her, because she didn't know.
A few months later, something unexpected happened. Arman went through a difficult phase at work. His startup idea failed. His confidence cracked. For the first time, he needed her the way she had needed him. But instead of leaning in gently, Aisha shifted back into problem-solving mode. Okay, what's your next plan? You should email these investors. Maybe you didn't prepare enough. She thought she was helping, but she wasn't listening. And one night, Arman finally said, I don't need a solution right now. I need you. That sentence hit harder than any criticism. She realized something painful. When you train yourself to survive by suppressing emotion, you sometimes forget how to sit with someone else's pain. Strength had protected her, but it had also built walls that made intimacy difficult. The next time Arman opened up, Aisha did something different. She didn't advise. She didn't analyze. She didn't fix. She simply listened. It felt uncomfortable at first. Silence always had. Silence meant feeling. But she stayed. And in that silence, she learned something powerful. Not every problem needs a hero. Some moments just need presence. That night, Arman didn't leave with a business strategy. He left feeling understood. And Aisha felt something shift inside her again. Maybe strength wasn't about holding everything together. Maybe it was about staying. If there was one word Aisha feared the most, it was no. She had spent her entire life saying yes. Yes, I'll handle it. Yes, I'll stay late. Yes, I'll manage. Yes, I'm fine. But growth demands discomfort. And one day, that discomfort arrived. Her extended family planned a major event. As usual, they expected Aisha to organize everything: budget planning, logistics, coordination. She felt the weight instantly. Her schedule was already packed, her energy was thin, and for the first time in her life, she said, I can't take this on. The silence that followed felt unbearable. Disappointment flickered across faces. Surprise, confusion. Someone muttered, but you're the best at this. Old Aisha would have folded immediately. New Aisha held her ground. I'll support where I can, but I can't carry the whole thing. She went home shaking. Guilt clawed at her chest. But something else lived beneath the guilt. Relief. Growth isn't always applauded. When you change, the people who benefited from your old version feel the shift. Some relatives became distant. A friend complained she wasn't as available anymore. It hurt, deeply, because she had always equated love with sacrifice. But Arman reminded her gently, people who only value you when you overextend yourself don't value you. They value your exhaustion. That truth stung, but it also freed her. She began to see something clearly. If your strength costs you your peace, it isn't strength, it's self-abandonment. Over the next year, Aisha did quiet work, therapy sessions, journaling at night, long walks without her phone. She revisited her childhood memories, the 12-year-old girl who decided crying was dangerous, the teenager who swallowed heartbreak silently, the young woman who carried family burdens without question. She didn't judge her past self, she thanked her. That version of Aisha had done what she needed to survive. But survival wasn't the same as living, and now she wanted to live. One of the hardest moments came unexpectedly. During a quiet evening visit home, her mother said, "You've changed." The words weren't harsh, but they carried weight. Aisha felt her chest tighten again. "Is that a bad thing?" she asked softly. Her mother hesitated. "You used to handle everything. Now you seem distant." It would have been easy to retreat, to apologize, to overcompensate. Instead, Aisha did something brave. "I handled everything because I thought I had to, but sometimes I was drowning, Ma. I just didn't show it." Her mother's eyes widened. "You never told me." Aisha smiled sadly. "I didn't think I was allowed to." Silence filled the room. Then something beautiful happened. Her mother reached for her hand. "You were just a child." For the first time in her life, Aisha felt seen.
Years later, when people described Aisha, they still used the word strong. But now, it meant something different. It meant she speaks honestly. She sets boundaries. She asks for help when needed. She cries without shame. She loves without losing herself. Strength was no longer armor. It was alignment. Alignment between what she felt and what she expressed. Alignment between helping others and protecting herself. Alignment between responsibility and rest. Here's the truth. The hidden cost of always being strong is losing yourself while saving everyone else. It's the exhaustion no one notices, the tears no one sees, the battles no one asks about. But here's the gift hidden beneath that cost. When you finally allow yourself to be human, you don't lose strength, you redefine it. Aisha didn't become less dependable. She became more authentic. She didn't stop caring. She stopped carrying what wasn't hers alone. And in doing so, she built something she never had before, a safe place. Not for everyone else, for herself.
Being strong isn't about carrying everything alone. It's about knowing when to pause and when to realign. But strength without balance can slowly break you. That's why the next story, The Path of Balance, matters. Because once you understand the cost of always being strong, you need to learn how to live without losing yourself. If this story touched you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more meaningful journeys, and share your honest thoughts in the comments. Your voice truly matters here.